Yesterday, I shared with you guys live coverage from Gamescom where they announced the next phase and next stage of Diablo Immortal. That's live on the channel if you want to check it out. The live announcement and discussion about it, plus my reaction to it and my thoughts. But we have patch notes here today that give us more depth on it. So what I'm going to do here today is break down the patch notes and then play for you the trailer pre-produced piece of information regarding Diablo Immortal at the end of this, and then I'll come back with my final thoughts. So let's look at these patch notes to start. Terror beckons at Gamescom. Your first look at Diablo's return. Remember, Diablo Immortal takes place in between Diablo 2 and Diablo 3, which means players like Deckard Cain can still be alive, and Diablo is able to return at that point in time. Adventurer, the age of unmaking is upon us. The saga of the World Stone continues to evolve, with Diablo, the Lord of Terror, poised to return to Sanctuary and shape the next chapter of this epic story. Ready for battles, for there is much to anticipate on the horizon. Many plots unfold with Diablo Immortal in the next few months. We do have a content calendar as well that's coming in, with the introduction of the new co-op mode and fiendish way to celebrate the season with both Halloween and winter holiday themed gameplay incoming. Remember, we have two versions of this update that are incoming, and I love that we have the new mode coming too. At Gamescom, we showcased how we developed Reliquary bosses and bring these powerful demons to life. Check out the video on that below. This is what I'm going to share. Now, it talks a lot about Reliquary related stuff, things that people that already play the game may know, but it does tell you more about Diablo returning as well. We're going to play that, like I said, at the end of this video. The next chapter of the Age of Unmaking, the Crucible of Justice. The Lord of Terror is set to make his hateful return to Sanctuary. Part 1 of the Worldstone quest, Crucible of Justice, arrives in September, where you must purify your soul from the corruption that has consumed your body and mind from the act of destroying the Worldstone shards. In the second part of the quest, you'll face Diablo, the Lord of Terror. With a Worldstone shard in his claws, Diablo has the power to warp reality and unmake creation itself. Part 2 arrives alongside a new zone and new Reliquary bosses to battle later this year. You can see the roadmap below. And on this roadmap, you can see right here, Worldstone Quest Part 1, July through September, dungeon updates, new co-op mode, Cursed Towers update. We talked about some of that in patch notes as well. And then for October through December, Worldstone Quest Part 2. That's when we have our encounter with Diablo again, a new zone, new Reliquary bosses, and much more. It doesn't say anything about a new dungeon that would come along with the new zone, but we'll see. Hopefully we get something. Also, we have Hallow's Wake for Halloween, and then we have Brumaltine for Christmas. Those are the staples that have returned to the game. The Crucible of Justice is the next chapter in the Age of Unmaking, bringing us ever closer to Diablo's reign of terror. To unlock Crucible of Justice, you'll need to complete the final quest of the Southern Dreadlands main quest, No Salvation. Then there's a little bit more here, Crucible of Justice. After retrieving the Archangel Tyrael's sword, remember that sword that was in the video that we posted the other day? The sword that was part of the battle? What happens is we actually have to use Tyrael's sword to kill Diablo. It's going to be pretty cool how the whole lore of all that falls together. You found yourself unable to wield that sword, painfully so. With the shattering of the Worldstone shards, a darkness has crept into your body and mind, causing the Sword of Justice to reject this evil, permeating your entire being. So essentially, we were a little corrupted. So we need to purify the corruption before the sword will let us use it. To contain the evil festering within, and to have a hope of confronting Diablo, you must travel to the icy and beast-ridden cold isles to cleanse your very soul. The Age of Unmaking is nearly at the height of its violent fervor. Steer yourself against the reign of terror. Now, what I want to show you guys right now is this video, and let's see if I can get over to it like this. We totally can. Let's dive in.
These are unspeakable horrors that you are fighting.
Our boss experiences aren't something that you can get in any other game.
We are giving players this heightened sense of horror.
We have to deliver the player with experience that they're the hero.
I think the spectrum of bosses that we have definitely hit everybody's personal horror stories.
So we're like 50 bosses now. Some of our bosses in Immortal are incredibly deadly. And we're really proud to be able to actually have the ability to bring Diablo back into our universe.
Everything that Diablo does, everything that Diablo says needs to be unnerving, terrifying.
It is going to be a very, very difficult battle.
The music changes, the environment changes, and all of a sudden, you have to fight for your life.
The process of designing a Diablo boss is usually quite organic.
It really depends on the boss. Sometimes it starts with a cool mechanical idea. Sometimes it starts with kind of a narrative germ.
The story team is going to have a lot of say in terms of like, what is the fiction behind the boss? And so what is the feel behind the boss?
In some zones, we are going to lavish incredible build-up on a boss, especially the final boss. In Tristram Cathedral, before you fight Albrecht, the first Shardborn, there's a whole quest line that has you exploring the ruins of Leoric Manor and learning about his past. And so at the end, when you face him, there's this context and kind of a richness to the things that he is saying to you.
Your flesh will hush the voices.
That if you are paying attention to the dialogue, will maybe resonate a little bit more emotionally.
Do you see how much stronger I've become?
Once they have the mechanics down and how they feel the battle should go, then they get all that together and then it gets passed off to art.
When it comes to designing a Diablo boss, there definitely is a long list of visual elements that we go to. Spikes, demon horns, rotten skin, decaying skin, burnt skin, different diseased skin. How do we stretch the skin out to make it look really uncomfortable? We take different parts of the body and then we twist them in very uncomfortable, awkward ways. We love using different humanoid bodies and then almost melting them together. The intention in creating Diablo bosses is to instill a general feeling of unease. So if it starts to feel like we have pushed it too hard, that's usually the comfort spots.
We have so many different representations of evil and horror, so no matter who you are, no matter where you're from, you can always bet that there is something in our game that is going to terrify you.
So we have many different kinds of bosses in Diablo Immortal. Bosses that are almost too big for the level. They're not mobile. You only see the top half of their bodies. We have tanks where the main goal is to just get this big, giant hunk of meat and beat it up until it dies. We have co-op bosses that are, better with friends, working together as a team to really take on these puzzles that the bosses present. And then we have mind-bending bosses that really change the way you play the game, what your perception is of the boss. But my favorite boss in the game is the Butcher.
Bringing the Butcher into Diablo Immortal was quite a journey for us because it is such a beloved character in the Diablo lore.
When I was playing Diablo 1 for the first time, there was this shock associated with encountering the Butcher. You open the door, he steps out, he's cleaving you very, very fast. You're like, I've never seen anything like this before. What the hell is happening? I'm dead.
We wanted the Butcher to be the real Butcher from the first Diablo. So it was kind of like, how do we bring him into our game and what can we make more special about this particular encounter?
Our Butcher is super intimidating. He's a gigantic boss, towering above the player.
This is the Butcher that was basically too angry to die. He's just shoving his guts back in. He's got the chain that he throws. He's got the rush, he's got the fire coming out of the ground, and it's just a fun, nostalgic fight. We've been building towards this encounter with Diablo since the launch of the game.
Diablo is the Lord of Terror. His food and drink is the fear of other beings.
He has this very recognizable silhouettes with his giant horns on his head and also down his back. He has this very intimidating smile that is signature to Diablo.
Diablo having a World Stone Shard means he's entering the nuclear age. He is now walking around with a weapon of mass destruction to bend reality, to perhaps create new realities.
The whole team is excited. It's electric. Getting to bring back Big Red and then unleash him, not just on one boss fight, but on an entire zone, on Sanctuary itself.
This Diablo is going to deliver a very epic experience, as good as any other Diablo games.
It's going to be the best Diablo ever. I said it here first.
It is going to be possibly the most difficult battle in the game ever.
All right, guys. That was clearly something that the Diablo Immortal team was trying to bring new people into the game. They were at Gamescom, a new venue for them, no more BlizzCon going on. They did announce the new stuff for all of us veteran players, you know, that Diablo's coming back, that's a big part, but a lot of the trailer that we saw here was something to entice brand new players to come into the game. So my anticipation is, from this trailer and from a lot of the discussion, is that from Gamescom alone, a lot of people that are brand new will be coming to the game to test it out. They had a PlayStation and everything where there was a Heliquary 4 versus 4 challenge going on, a little tournament that they were running. So they tried to make it fun for players. Hopefully we see a lot of new players come into the game. But regarding what we shared, like the new information, Diablo related information, it's the battle we've all been waiting for. I'm looking forward to Halloween and how we go to purify ourselves so we can finally wield this sword, and then look forward to our battle that we have with Diablo around the end of the year. Guys, you're updated now on what went down at Gamescom. I really wish I could have been there. Super missing out on this one, but hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you back here tomorrow.